Taiwanese people love their drinks, whether it's coffee, bubble tea, or even soda. Now, we're standing on a busy street in Taipei that's just lined with drink shops. And as you might imagine, these shops probably go through a lot of single-use plastic cups every single day. But starting on Friday, people who bring their own cups can save 5 new Taiwan dollars. Now, that's not a promotion, that's government policy. In today's show, we're going to tell you how this promotion works. Then we're going to speak to a few drink shop employees about how this policy might affect consumer habits. Then Staś Butler is going to speak with the Greenpeace Taiwan about Taiwan's overall green strategy. And in hashtag Taiwan, I'm going to be telling you about a few ghouls and zombies that are stirring up trouble. That's right, I said ghouls and zombies. This is Taiwan Insider. Let's get started. So at the top of the show, we told you about a new 5 new Taiwan dollar discount that's coming in for drink shops, and this applies to bubble tea chains or even coffee stores. But how does it work? It's as easy as bringing your own cup. Let me show you. You might think that there's some procedure involved, maybe some paperwork. Not really. All you gotta do is show me your own cup and order. There's a lot of selection, man. There's like 27 beverages on there, each one with a hot and cold option, different sizes. Like the permutations here must be insane. Whatever cup you bring, make sure it's big enough to contain the size of the beverage you want. In my case, my first cup was too small for the jumbo-sized coffee I wanted, so I had to use a larger one. While the policy doesn't go into effect until Friday, this store I'm at already offers a 5 new Taiwan dollar discount for bringing your own cup, which, yay, saving the earth. While we wait for my drink to be made, let's find out what some drink store employees have to say about this new policy.
已经习惯的人就用很习惯了，老实讲。然后如果有优惠，当然会更推荐大家使用啊。
有一些人可能是环保啊，然后有一些人也是有省钱，因为毕竟还可以扣2块钱。
但是他们相对的，如果都会有建议啦，说如果我们给优惠，他们会更喜欢。
So there you have it. People who are used to bringing their own cups will probably continue to do so. But the discount might just be the incentive people need to start this planet-saving habit. In my experience, it's not all that inconvenient to bring your own cup, and if you can save a bit of money while saving the earth, well, that's a win-win in my book.
Now, cutting down on plastic pollution is just one part of Taiwan's broader climate strategy, and the main aim is to get to net zero carbon emissions by 2050. I asked Greenpeace Taiwan spokesperson Hong Sheng-bang whether the government's plan to do that is good enough.
I would say yes and no. So on the positive side, Taiwan has already announced the roadmap and has written the ultimate 2050 target into law. But on the other hand, first, we think it's lacking economic incentives to achieve most of the technical transitions. Second, the goal of 2030 is totally illogical. And the third, the roadmap is over-counting on international support on hydrogen and carbon credits, but not pragmatically cut down our emission once and for all.
What do you mean by this lack of economic incentives?
Also, when we say the lack of economic incentives, we're talking about carbon pricing policy. The real problem is the carbon price level our government is about to collect is way too low to be effective. Normally, the technical transition starts to happen when the carbon price hits about 1,500 to 2,000 NTD per ton carbon dioxide emitted. That is roughly 50 to 70 US dollars. But according to previous discussion, the government is only willing to set the price at like 100 NTD. You know, with this kind of low price and that big gap, we don't expect it to provide enough incentives for people to make any changes. Without a fair carbon price, those wonderful stories from the net zero roadmap will not happen for sure.
And what is, I mean, you mentioned this kind of 2030 sort of intermediate goal. What are the goals for that period?
We think the 2030 reduction goal of Taiwan is too passive. According to IPCC's report, the world must cut its own emission by 43% at least in order to reach 2050 net zero. The logic behind this is just marginal effect. As we reduce more and more emission, difficulty reducing further will rise gradually. So in order to hit 2050 net zero, it requires us to rapidly do the easier 40% in the first decade and tackle on the rest 60% with double amount of time. However, Taiwan's reduction goal for 2030 is just 20%. So we will have a hard time to catch up.
And you talk about international support as well. What are the ways in which Taiwan is relying on international support to reach its net zero goal?
Taiwan is counting on too much hydrogen power and carbon credit as well that come from overseas. The good carbon credit will be in hot demand. So is green hydrogen. When every country is claiming that they will buy those things from abroad, who's gonna sell them, right? This is a simple economic problem. Too much demand, thus no supply. There's also a great chance that the hydrogen that we buy is not really the good hydrogen we call green hydrogen, but instead we'll be buying in dirty hydrogen that is produced by burning more fossil fuel or nuclear fuel in other countries.
If Taiwan doesn't meet its goals and if the world falls behind on its goals, what are the kinds of threats that Taiwan will face in the future?
Well, Taiwan is an island located in subtropical region. That means we directly face the challenges of heat waves, of typhoons, of heavy rain, and rise of sea level. It's like an all-in-one pack of climate catastrophe. Last year, we had the longest drought in 56 years, I remember, and the hottest summer in 74 years altogether in 1 year, last year. So if climate change goes on, this record is just going to be broken more frequently.
What can ordinary people do to make a difference?
We would really like people to use their actions to tilt the world to kind of better direction. You can choose to take public transportation instead of driving yourself. Or if you really have to drive, get an electric car. You can reduce the usage of plastic products, especially disposable plastic, as they take up a lot of fossil fuels to produce. And you can also buy things from companies that commit to use 100% or at least some portion of renewable energy. You can vote for politicians that support more progressive environmental policies. And you can go to the website of government, attend the public hearing to tell them what you want. There are actually all sorts of things you can do. Or you can just, also choose to make donations to Greenpeace or other NGOs who are fighting the big trend for a better future. And of course, that good future is for everyone to share.
Single-use plastics are scary, but do you know what else is scary? Ghosts, ghouls, zombies, evil spirits, and the like. But terrifying as those things may be, they recently drew huge crowds to an art museum in southern Taiwan's Tainan city. What's that all about? I'm going to tell you in #Taiwan. This week's story is a prime example of there's no such thing as bad publicity. Today's story revolves around the Tainan Art Museum. On June 12th, the Tainan Art Museum previewed an exhibition on its Facebook page called Ghosts and Hells, the Underworld in Asian Art. The exhibit is exactly what it sounds like. It features depictions of ghosts, hell, zombies, ghouls, and all that other freaky stuff from all around Asia. Interestingly, the exhibition is not locally curated. It's a creation by French curator Julien Rousseau. Ghosts and Hells went on display on June 25th 25th and will remain on display until October 16th. However, the exhibit stirred up controversy even before it was open to the public. Several religious groups lodged complaints saying that the depictions of evil spirits and ghosts were blasphemous. Others said that the exhibit's bad juju subject matter would invite demons and even bring about a curse. These protests led to widespread media coverage about the event. Are Taiwanese people superstitious? To a degree, yes, it's ingrained in the culture. In Taiwan, there's an entire month where people believe it's bad luck to dive into the water or whistle at night. But I wouldn't say that the general public takes those beliefs too seriously, it's just something we acknowledge. So I think it's safe to say the people who raised concern over the Tainan art exhibit were a little more devoted to their faith. So did the increased coverage about the exhibit hamper its performance? No, it actually had the opposite effect. People shared the event on social media, and then, on the opening day of Ghosts and Hells, crowds flocked to the Tainan Museum because I guess people have an irresistible fascination with the macabre. Tainan Art Museum had to suspend ticket sales twice on opening day because the exhibit was getting way too packed. From what I've read, there are 4 rooms to the exhibition, each with a capacity of around 50 people. So that means the entire exhibit can only house around 200 visitors maximum at any given time. By noon on opening day, the museum had sold over 3,000 tickets to the exhibit. There were lines around the block as people waited their turn to see the ghosts and ghoulies. According to the Taipei Times, the first day of the exhibit drew 6,861 visitors. I'm actually pretty interested in seeing the exhibit myself, but what I find interesting is I don't think I would have even heard of the exhibit had its detractors not stirred up so much controversy about it. And really, what are the odds that this art exhibit is going to summon an actual portal to hell?
And before we leave you, here's a look at some of the other news stories that are on our radar.
Taiwan has raised the price of electricity in response to soaring fuel costs worldwide. Starting July 1st, tariffs will go up by an average of 8.4%, but that won't affect everyone equally. Households and small businesses using below 1,000 kilowatt hours of power a month won't see any increase in prices. Power use in essential industries like agriculture will also be unaffected. Instead, the high prices will be mostly for large enterprises that consume large amounts of electricity. These consumers will see a 50% rise. Unlike in most industrialized countries, Taiwan's government still sets the price of electricity and fuel. The crew chief of a helicopter that crashed last week has died. Master Sergeant Liao was declared dead last Thursday at his home, hours after his family signed a do not resuscitate agreement. He had been in critical condition after suffering third-degree burns to 95% of his body. The Taiwan Navy S-70C anti-submarine helicopter Liao was piloting crashed at an airbase in Kaohsiung last Wednesday. Navy officials say they think the crash was caused by a mechanical failure of its tail rotor, but the official investigation is still underway. The crash was the 4th military aircraft accident this year. COVID case numbers in Taiwan are falling, but new Omicron subvariants are threatening to send them rocketing back up. On Monday, Taiwan caught 61 cases of subvariants BA4 and BA5 at the border, a record high, and authorities say imported COVID cases increased by 28% this week overall. They say that's because the subvariants are beginning to cause new waves of infections in the rest of the world. Experts say if the subvariants spread in Taiwan, they could cause a flood of new cases, just as Taiwan recovers from its current outbreak. To stop that from happening, authorities are rolling out a second round of booster shots for airport staff and their families beginning July 1st. Taiwan's outdoor mask mandate will also stay in force through the month of July.
And we're back in the studio for our final question of the day. It's just me and Stash today. Stash, the boys are back in town.
The boys are back in town.
Natalie and Emma are out of the country right now on a well-deserved break, so Stash and I have just taken over. Anyway, let's get to the question of the week, which is, Stash, we talked about reusable cups, bringing your own reusable cup to drink shops.
We did,
but what
indeed.
is your drink of choice? What drink will you be putting into your reusable cup?
Well, my drink of choice is actually from a store called Guiji, and it involves a lot of pineapple.
Ooh.
It's a kind of, for a hot summer's day like it is right now, it's 30 degrees, over 30 degrees in Taipei, very hot. It's a lovely pineapple drink. You'll be looking at a picture of this right now. It's perfect for for a hot summer's day.
What is it, like an icy slushy?
It's like an icy with kind of green tea and pineapple. It's perfect.
That sounds very refreshing.
Yeah.
Well, mine's not quite as straightforward as yours. I have a bit of a math equation for you right here. Let me break this down for you really quickly. There's a lot of explanation. There's no way I could have written this all out.
I was going to say, this is quite a difficult thing to write on one.
So I had to break it down really quickly
into a
like
formula,
a math equation.
naturally.
So it's milk tea plus coconut jelly plus boba,
Right.
70% ice, and 30% sugar.
70%, is that
That's a salping, I think.
Is that a salping?
Yeah.
Right.
Because it's still summer, I like 70%, but the full 100, you feel like you're getting more ice than you are tea.
You're getting cheated, fundamentally.
Yeah, exactly,
it's a scam.
right? So this is just basic math, right?
Absolutely.
And there's no discount for having less ice,
No,
so you just get more,
you get
less
more
ice.
drink.
Right, there you go. And that's about all the time we have for this edition of Taiwan Insider. Thank you so much for joining Stash and I. I'm Leslie Liao.
And I'm Staś Butler. Make sure you follow us on our social media channels. You get us on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Instagram.
You can also find us on Twitter, where you can send us a direct message or tweet at us. Tell us what you think about the show. Anyway, guys, we'll be back with another episode next week. Until then, see you around.